Welcome back to Speaking with Confidence, a podcast that helps you build the soft skills that lead to real results. Communication, storytelling, public speaking, and showing up with confidence in every conversation that counts. I'm Tim Newman, a recovering college professor turned communication coach, and I'm thrilled to guide you on a journey to become a powerful communicator. I want to thank each and every one of you for your support. It truly means the world to me. If you have questions, or if you want something covered in the podcast, just send me a message. Please visit timnewmanspeaks.com to get your free ebook, The Top 21 Challenges for Public Speakers and How to Overcome Them. Today's guest is Cesar Cardona. Cesar is a public speaker, co-host of the podcast Beauty in the Break, and mindfulness educator certified by Rice University. Shaped by his diverse upbringing and profound life experiences, he inspires audiences with stories of resilience, connection, and growth. Cesar's talks weave personal insights through universal truths, empowering individuals to embrace inclusion, mindfulness, and the shared human experience. Cesar, I'm so looking forward to this conversation. Welcome to the show, bud.
Tim, thank you so much. I appreciate you very much. Thank you for being here with me, and thank you for everybody listening.
You know, we did our pre-interview talk, a little bit ago, and we talked a little bit before we just jumped on here, and there's some of the things we talked about are really go to how we view and see the world and how we choose to go and see the world, and go through life. And we're going to talk a lot about mindfulness, and that's really what it is that we talked about. But I really want to start with your journey. You have a really unique story. Can you share that briefly with us?
I can. Yeah, I can. So I was born in Jacksonville, Florida. I live in Los Angeles now for the last 10 years. This is my home. Go Dodgers. But my parents were quite opposite of each other. My father was a New Yorker and a Spanish man. My mother was a Floridian and a Black woman. And what's more to add into that is that one of them was a Republican and the other was a Democrat. So I got these dynamic ways poured into me. They also didn't really get along either. So I got a lot of aggression and friction living in that household. And to be honest, it wasn't a good upbringing. There's no really joy there about it. But I've made amends to that. My parents and we get along quite well. They became better people. But living with those two really different people with different ways of seeing the world really had an impact on
me. So growing up in that environment, I mean, I can only imagine the push pull, the tug shove that you're dealing with. How did that really kind of shape your mentality and growing up, and how you actually see the world and your resilience to overcome some of trauma? I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but to me, it would be trauma. To me, it would be, not really truly understanding where you kind of fit, where, how did you develop the resiliency to become what you've become today?
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way.
Sure. You're using all the right words, by the way. There 100% was trauma. There was an endless amount of trauma. And a lot of stuff I took with me as an adult that I never wanted to take with me, and it took me a long time to get through it. To go to your question about how I maintain the resilience for it, it's a question I'll be probably mulling over for the rest of my life, right? But what things I have picked up on was that even with those two parents being so opposite, both of them are strong people. One parent is very resilient and book smart and very good at following instruction and rule, and the other one is very street smart and very good at innovating and finding new ways. And I picked up those also. So even in that, horrible childhood, there was a part in me that lived within that just wouldn't let go of their portion of the reins on the chariot of my life. They just wouldn't. And I was lucky enough to hold that with me wherever. And that's a real, heady, practical or impractical way of saying it. To be more practical about it, I just felt that there was something within me that I could still tap into, even at the worst points of my life, even the times where I thought I didn't have it. The resilience comes from recognizing the ever change of time, recognizing that no matter how bad something is, it reiterates to something else. And I started seeing those patterns in that mindset. And without knowing it was going to turn out for the good, I just kept, again, riding the change of time. I kept trying to be a better surfer in the waves of life.
So it's, I enjoy the words that you're using because, it's it's a different way of looking at things, right? I mean, if somebody on the opposite end of the spectrum would use very different words
Mm-hmm.
to communicate that.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, you're using positive action words, forward looking as opposed to negative words looking backwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, there's all kinds of quotes out there, but one that I hear a lot is you're either getting better or you're getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
There's no standing still. You're either moving forward or you're moving backwards. There's no standing still. And I think the people that I probably admire the most are the ones that, can, I wouldn't say compartmentalize, but find ways to move forward no matter what is happening, no matter what's going on around them, whether it's, bad things for them, whether it's bad things for their friends or family, um, trauma, finding ways to deal with those things and move forward without letting whatever that is hold them back.
Right. Yes. Yes. I fundamentally believe that every single thing that happens in your life, there is some sort of value to learn from it, good or bad or neutral. I give talks about growth mindfulness, and one of the subject matters are dealing with the people in your lives who are the yeah butters, right? Yeah, but you can't do this. Yeah, but that's too hard. Yeah, but you're gonna have to pay this money. Yeah, but you're gonna have to, so on and so forth. You can butt yourself into a wall all you want, right?
Right.
Even those people, there's something from which you can learn. At the very least, it's learning what that yeah but sounds like, so you know how to avoid it in your own thinking, right? And not at the very most, but at a more dynamic way, it's learning about why people will say that. Most people telling you about the fears you should worry about are just their own fears they're projecting out onto you. So I think that is a lot of what kept me going, was knowing that every single iteration, every single moment of life outside my mind and my like living space, my room, or now my apartment or my house or whatever, everything outside of that is like the bee gathering pollen.
Okay.
You're going out gathering, but every moment, every experience is pollen out there. When you come home, you take that pollen, you turn it into honey. That's how I see most of my life.
And that's, to me, knowing a little bit more of your story that you share with me privately, that's a phenomenal way of looking at things, and a positive way of looking at things, as opposed to some of the ways that you could have or other people do. And I think it's so important, from my audience's perspective, to understand that everybody has things that is going on in their life, that at some point the only way to move forward is to move forward and find ways to take those issues that are holding us back. And we're just, really, on this podcast, we're really just talking about how we communicate, right? Finding ways to get over that hump, to be able to communicate. And again, not diminishing anybody's issues here.
No way.
Some people have big, strong issues or things that hold them back in how they communicate because of maybe how they were brought up. You don't ever ask any questions. Right. Don't ever don't ever look at me that way. Don't ever do these types of things. But we have to be able to move forward.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. I totally agree. For me, it's in this case, to your point of what you're saying, it's a two-parter. One, every single thing that bothers somebody is a valid point. It's valid because if you brought it up, that means it's hitting you at some deeper level, right? So it's worthy of looking at and recognizing. And also, you don't have to live with that forever.
Right.
It's two-sided. Like, give it attention. It's asking for attention. Even if it's something as small as the pebble in my shoe is making me angry, I guarantee you it's not about the pebble. I guarantee you it's about something else that is in your way, and that you pull on that thread, you're going to find more things. So validate it and recognize that you can transcend it as well. You can work through it also.
Yeah. And it's such a good point that it doesn't matter what it is. Seek help. Ask, because you know what, I've been accused of living with rose-colored glasses for forever. I generally think people are good. I think people are good.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I think if you tell somebody that, or you ask somebody, can you help me with this? Most of the time they're going to say yes. Or if they can't help you, they're going to say, sorry, I can't help you for whatever reason, but try this person. A few people are just going to say, no, get out of here.
Mm-hmm. You're right. You're absolutely right. And anybody listening to that can just go test that themselves.
Yeah.
Quite often people they'll give you something, and at the very least, they'll empathetically say they can't. That is an implication that they still care. They're just not able to help.
Right.
I couldn't agree more.
And so finding that strength to ask for help in whatever it is that's all. I think that's always the first step, except for, I think, I don't want to get into this too much. There's a video that I watch on the regular. I mean, it's a short 1.5, 2-minute video. It's a guy talking about how as grown men, it's hard for us to make friends. It's hard for us to reach out just because of what society has done or what we have allowed society to say is
yeah. It's equal.
Do you see that? Yeah. Because I fall into that trap too. I'm normal, just like anybody else.
Yeah.
Right. And he said we should have five types of friends, and one of them is the type of friend that you can go to with anything at all, and they're only looking out for what's best for you, not about work, not about a relationship, but they're talking about you and how you are. How's your heart?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have one of those types of friends that you can go to with those types of things, you need to find somebody, because those are the people that can really help you and guide you to get through some of these things that we're getting ready to talk about.
You're right. Think of every movie, every story, every book, every whatever. That person on that journey, at some point, they'll meet at least one helping hand along the way. Typically, they find a group of people, the allies, right? The fun and games that they find together. And those people don't carry our lead character.
Right.
They don't pick them on their shoulders and say, all right, we got you. We'll take it. That's not how it works. Everybody goes together. So you are accountable for your own journey, and your friend will help you clear the way. The same manner in which they're accountable for theirs, and you help them clear the way.
Yeah.
When I give this, whenever I get to a topic while I'm speaking to a company or whatever, or school, if I start talking about leaning on friends, I almost always go to the fact that not one time did I see in The Wizard of Oz Dorothy be carried by the Tin Man, the Lion, the Scarecrow, or any other version of that, because they all had to go and walk it together. Now, they did help each other along the way. That's the point. But you also got to walk that thing too. And it's two-sided. And to go back to something we said a minute ago or a little earlier, is you and I are at this point in our lives now where we kind of have this perhaps clearer way of seeing things, knowing that two opposites can be true at the same time, knowing that the value is within us, not without us, not externally, all of these things. That's also, for me personally, not saying that I I didn't go through those negative times. Not saying I didn't go through those moments of where my positive framework of it was not there. I had been very negative for a long time. I had thought the world was out to get me, even if my words were more optimistic. I just shifted and saw this way and said, wait, hang on here. What is something that I can do? What is something that I can do? Because I know I'm in control of these things. And then how do I little by little release the deep grasping of expectation that I have on other people and other scenarios? Because I can't account for that. I can't be held responsible for those things. And the circumstances of why somebody is or isn't to me is not something that I could ever fathom. Think about how many times you've heard someone say about another person, oh, this person did A because they are B, right?
Right.
Oh, well, they cut me off because they're jerks. Or they didn't answer my call because they're selfish. Whatever it is.
Right.
The moment that same person has to tell you about why they chose to do something, they're going to give you all the scenarios and the situations and the circumstances why they make that choice. And that is the more clearer picture because they experienced all the circumstances, right?
Right.
So let's make sure we give those same circumstances to the other people as well. And that's how I got to this point of saying, wait a minute. I'm doing something a little, I'm misstepping right here.
Right.
I am giving all myself the grace for reasons why something doesn't work and then pointing it out to everyone else. But that's not it. Let me turn over and make a little more accountability for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll get into accountability a little bit later, because I do think accountability or personal accountability is something that we need to do a better job of. But I want to talk about some more positive things first. You know, your public speaking journey is relatively new.
Yeah.
How did it happen for you? Because your story is fascinating to me because it doesn't generally happen that way. It doesn't. I mean, I'll let you tell the story because it's your story, but it's fascinating. I love it because it's number one, it's real. It's transformational because it can happen. When I say it doesn't happen, it doesn't mean that it can't, because it does. It happened to you, and I know it's happened to others. You know, you just find something that kind of goes off and says, "Wow, this is it. This is it. This is what I've been looking for."
Yeah, dude, you're so on point with that with that observation. There's still to this moment, I'm like, can you believe this? You know, I saw an old friend that I hadn't seen in a little while. Yesterday we went to lunch, and he's like, "How are you?" And I said, "Okay, this is what's going on." And I just ran down all these stories, and he's looking at me like, "What?" And I go, "I don't know. And technically, I do know. I spent the time, I focused, and so on. I followed my bliss. I followed the thing, to quote Joseph Campbell, follow your bliss. I followed the thing that activated me, that vitalized me, that made me feel more alive than ever. And I followed that consistently. And then, of course, with the vigilance and the patience and the endurance, things show up. And again, here's that "and" word instead of "but." And these doors just start opening up where they used to just be walls. And I'm like, what is going on? Right. So to answer your question, I had no thought about being a public speaker. It was not in my thoughts. It wasn't in my realm. It never occurred to me to be a public speaker. Not one time. And I'll double down on that and say that 2 Buddhist temples that I had been a part of some years ago, they both had asked me, "Would you like to talk for one of the services?" I said, "Sure." I put something together and talked about it, and I never thought about it again. That's how much I didn't think about it. I literally did it. I was standing on a whale being upset because I couldn't find any minnows, like, come on, So anyway, I really want to set that tone for that because I've quoted Joseph Campbell before earlier, 10 seconds ago. I love Joseph Campbell. If you listening here don't know who that is, I highly recommend checking him out. checking him out directly. Don't necessarily look at what people talk about him, because they've concised it down to one thing, which is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, but there's so much more that he talks about. And he's renowned and amazing in so many ways, but there's just so much more is the point I'm making. So I love his teaching. I love how he goes about life. He talks about the common thread that connects all of us, from stories to mythology to religion to social tales to modern day to movies to film to our real personal day-to-day life. There's a common narrative that happens for all of us, right? And he broke that down into what it means symbolically. So anyway, I find at some point that in where I live in Los Angeles, there is a Joseph Campbell roundtable, and it's comprised of people who are fans of his. He died in 1987. They get together, and there's a speaker for the event. I was invited to go to this event, and the speaker was someone who knew Joseph Campbell for 2 decades. He passed away in 1987, so I wasn't even born yet. But this woman knew him for 2 decades, and she was now a storyteller, and she taught in colleges on mixing movies with myth and so on. Her name is Rebecca Armstrong. She's a wonderful, brilliant woman. Because when I was sitting there listening to her talk, I am enamored with what she was saying. I'm like I said, I'm like, this woman is wonderful, it's brilliant. She finishes her talk. I'm just there as a participant. There's like 40 or 50 of us. She starts speaking. She says, anybody have any questions? And one woman stands up. And this woman stands up and says a couple of compliments. And then a gentleman raises his hand, and he stands up and asks a question. They kind of go back and forth a little bit. And then I raise my hand and I point out some of the things that she said that stood out to me that I have been using in my life. Primarily, she was talking about a thread that's used in a lot of culture stories. And I know that in mythology, the thread in Greek mythology is known as a clue, C-L-E-W. And it's used in the story of Theseus and the Minotaur and so on and so forth. I broke down the metaphor for what it meant to me, and then told her that I started my music group called Cesar and the Clue, C-L-E-W, because the thread is the symbol that connects us with the rest of the world. The labyrinth in the movie, the dungeon, the cave, the underwater, whatever it is you see in films is symbolic for you going in your own mind and fighting your own monsters. And the thread connects you back out to the world. And we do that now because we have things like communication, the internet, a thread, right? Or the search of string theory in physics. We do these all day. So I called my band Cesar and the Clue, and then she goes, stop right there. And then she turns to everyone and says, do you see what he did? He took the story, found the metaphor, understood the symbol, applied it to his life, and then applied it to the larger life of everybody included, and then honored it. She said, that is genius. You, sir, are a genius. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that phrasing, but everyone turns to look at me, and I'm sweating bullets now because I didn't have a desire to want to. I'm here to.
I didn't want to be a genius.
Yeah, come on. I to this day, I'm still like, I don't know about all that stuff, but listen, I'm just here, you know? So then she says that, and then she looks over to me and says, you should be standing here speaking. And then she turns to the woman who hosts the event and points to me and says, there is your next speaker. And I am flabbergasted because, again, not what I came there for. The end of the talk comes. I go walk up to her and I say to her, thank you for saying all that. I'm super nervous about that, but she said, if you want to speak here, I could set you up. I said, I would love that, but I don't know anything about that. I'm just here. She said, take my phone number. I'll mentor you. She lives in near Chicago. And she said, I'll mentor you. So from there, she started mentoring me and being a public speaker. All of this, by the way, is just over a year ago. It's nuts. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts, dude. So to condense the story a little quicker, living in Los Angeles, it's very competitive, and it's easy for somebody to want to hire a public speaker who has experience rather than some guy with curly hair who has no experience in public speaking. So what I did was I went and I rented a space. I invited 30 of my friends, and I built a talk on a topic that I wanted to talk about. My girlfriend, who used to be a film director, she set up 2 cameras for me, and they were iPhone cameras, so there wasn't like, fancy cameras. Shot those. We recorded it. I chopped those videos up and then started shopping them out to places and said, I recently gave a talk here. I'd love to give a talk to you the same manner. That was June of 2024. Maybe I shouldn't date the episode here, but that was in, I've already said it. And by that September, I got my first paying gig. It has been less than that a year's time. And I've had 15 paying gigs. 15. I am baffled by it. And I'm the one experiencing it. I'm the one putting it out there and doing the effort. And still I'm like, what? What is going on? And my goodness. But ultimately, to wrap this up, I'm ever grateful for it and I'm ever humbled for it. And my job is to not get stuck into the congratulatory. See it as a sign of what you're doing is correct, and then get back to focusing on the road.
Right. Well, I think what you're doing is phenomenal. I love the story. I love, within that story, there's so much that can be unpacked, right? There's so much that other people can learn from. Okay. Now, let's take away your upbringing. Let's just focus on going to that conference, right? You went to that conference and I'm putting words in your mouth here. You went to that conference to hear the speaker, maybe to learn something, maybe interact with those people that were there. But you learned before you even got there. You had an interest in that topic. You had an interest in him and his work and his thinking, his movies, all those types of things. And so things don't just happen like that. So you're not just going to walk into a conference and expect that to happen, right? I mean, and then you took what was said, you listened, you put everything together and then shared that. Mm-hmm. You had to have some gumption to stand up and share, where most people today aren't going to do that. Even in that group of people that was there, how many other people stood up?
True. Very true. Apparently speaking publicly is like the top 3 scariest things.
And even you said, I mean, you were sweating bullets, you were nervous, but you took that step. Remember when we talked about as we started this, you're either moving forward or you're moving backwards. Yeah. You have to find ways to do the things that are holding us back. So as throughout the past year, do you still get nervous? Did you figure out why you were so nervous? I mean, this is what is really fascinating to me, because my very first time, okay, and this is what I do now, I threw up.
Whoa.
Whoa. Yeah. And I still get nervous. I mean, I gave a keynote. I don't even, I mean, we talked about this before. Recently, I gave a regular presentation and a keynote in the same day. Still nervous, but still did it. But the first time I ever stood up in front of people, I threw up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I get nervous every time. Every time. I expect the nerves. I anticipate the nerves. And I don't care to not have nerves. Mm-hmm. The nerves let me know that I'm alive, that I'm paying attention, that I'm focused. It lets me know that I care. If I didn't have the nerves, then I would be lying to myself about something. The goal is to transcend it, work with it. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to get rid of it. I've learned over time, I learned a couple things. One, there's this, I'm trying to make sure I make this really concise. There's a study that shows that, and I'm really making this study really concise, that if you are able to name the fear you're seeing or experiencing, like name it, then it makes it from your amygdala, which is very fear, worry based, to your prefrontal cortex, the front of your thoughts, which is very editing, very conscious. people have shown in their brains their stress levels. If they witness or experience fear without naming it, their stress levels go higher. The moment they think to themselves, oh, fear, it becomes a little calmer to them because you're recognizing it. You're putting a shape around it, right? I remember that study. And one day I was sitting and it was almost my turn to go up to speak. And I felt nervous. And I thought to myself, oh, nervous. That's nervous. I'm nervous. Okay. And it doesn't make it go away, but it does put a shape around it. You know, it puts a sheet around that ghost, you know, and you can kind of get its form a little bit. And it helped me really transcend it more and more because I realized that if I name it, then it becomes a part of the tools. It becomes another arrow in my quiver. So I get nervous every single time. And I say to myself, oh, there it is. There's nervous. Got it. There's nervous.
That's all. I got it. Now we can move forward.
I can, yeah. And again, I really want to specify the goal is not to get rid of nerves. It's not to get rid of nerves. It heightens you. It keeps your awareness a little up. Your skin is a little heightened to what's going on. You're a little more poised, but you got to recognize it and then amalgamate it and use it.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. You know, the whole idea for me is because I care, because I want to do well. I want to be able to convey the message. I want my audience to be able to hear the messaging and get something out of the message, whatever it is that I'm talking about. And I think it's like anything else. You know, I come from the sport industry, and even if you talk to the the elite athletes, they get nervous when they go out and play. And if they get nervous and can still perform at that high level, I think, again, go back to both things can be right? If they can do it and still perform at a high level, it's okay for me to do it, to have it.
Absolutely.
And still go out and perform.
Absolutely. Those people, those high working athletes, the high tier athletes, they have over you, over me, over anybody listening at this moment right now, they have more time. They've had more time and potential experience and potential access to assistance to getting those things. Those are all three things that you could eventually get without question. What's more is that they're specified in that one thing they do really well. And everybody has at least one thing they do really well, right? So knowing that they get nervous lets you know you are in accord with the way it's supposed to be. Your job is to be your version of that top athlete. If it's being the top mathematician, if it's being the top janitor, if it's being the top car salesman, whatever it is, be kind and true with it and don't stop. As long as you're kind and true, you'll recognize that you can become the best version of yourself. But you got to make sure that nervousness is always there with you and see it and put your hands around it.
It's so important, and lean into who you are. Just embrace it and go with it. Let's talk a little bit about storytelling, in terms of public speaking or even just regular communication, because I think that I'm going to use Airfinger's quote storytelling now, because I think it's a buzzword, but it's something that we as humans have done our entire life.
It's the beginning of our ability to communicate with each other. Right. Before we even had words, we painted on caves.
Yes. And now it's become a way for us to talk about how we talk or talk about how we communicate. And that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But sometimes we think or it's presented as we have to have some grand triumphant story.
I love that. I love that you're saying that. Yep.
And it doesn't have to be. I mean, just tell your story. I mean, you know what? I went to the store yesterday, got a flat tire, had to change a flat tire. Some guys stopped to help me. He picked up some lug nuts for me, and I really appreciate it. We're going to go play golf next week.
Nice.
You know what? I mean, that's a story. I mean, it's That's really all it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's not forget that stories can just be open-ended. They could end and make the person wonder.
Yeah.
You can just be asking a question with a story, right? I mean,
Right.
like, where's that story of the monk with the monk in the boat is one I tell a lot when I do talks about anger. This monk goes into a boat to meditate. This Buddhist monk goes into a lake, sits in the boat, goes to meditate. He closes his eyes. Someone bumps into the boat. He's a little rocked. He keeps his eyes closed, but he takes a breath and he resets and goes back to meditating. And then they bump into his boat again. He's a little agitated this time, but he resets, keeps his eyes closed, meditates. And then they bump into his boat a third time. This time he's annoyed. So he opens his eyes. He turns around to go yell at the person bumping into him, and he realizes the boat is empty. The wake of the lake had been pushing the boat against his. So the question is, in this story, whose anger was that? I'm not giving any answer there. The response person, you can leave these stories wide open. And stories are a gathering of words, and words are the candlelight to the cave of our minds. If you put those words together right, it won't be a candlelight anymore. It'll be a blazing fire. And if you can condense that well enough, then it'll be electricity, and that will light your way consistently. One of the best things I've learned in my life was the fact that storytelling can get us across more than any data, any science, any facts you can bring. You can appeal and you can appeal to somebody and affect them and activate them way more with stories than you will data. Data's amazing, but stories will get the job done.
Yeah, it's the ultimate connector. It's the ultimate, relationship builder. It's what binds us together. I mean, going back to some of the things we've already talked about, and with where we are let's just take AI for example. I mean, everything is AI today, right? But I don't care what business or industry you're in, it's all going to come back to personal interaction, personal
Absolutely.
relationships.
100%. I have a certification in AI and using AI. I got one a couple of weeks ago. And you find out pretty quickly that it's our job to have the information. You can put it in through there, see AI as a thought partner, and you got to make the choice when it comes back out.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, take the time to develop personal relationships. Take the time to make connections. I go back to let's go back to when you went to the conference. Um, I, I think that one thing that people also need to understand is the power of questions.
Mm.
In communication.
Mm-hmm.
I think questions is something that helps deepen conversations. It helps deepen connection. It helps deepen relationships.
Yeah. And this is asking questions is tied into something you also said earlier, which is a really good point, the listening.
Yes.
The listening is super important. I am a speaker, public speaker. My job is literally to talk. And I find that very often, the more I listen, the more effective I can be. I gave a talk about a month or so ago, and it was one of the best ones I felt that I did, and the audience was amazing. And it was a lot of people in there, at least a lot for me. And this gentleman walked up to me afterwards, after all the people left. He said, "Could I talk to you for a little bit?" I said, "Yeah, sure, of course." He said, "I want to talk to you about Buddhism." We sit into one of the conference rooms, just he and I. He closed the door and we start talking about Buddhism. And then at some point, he just wouldn't stop going. He was talking and talking and talking and talking and talking and talking. And I realized I want to get a point in here, what he's saying. And then at some point I realized, no, he just needs to get it out. Right. And he would go and go, and he tied all of these concepts into his personal life. And then in the end, he looked at me and says, "I want to hug you, but I don't know you enough." And I looked at him. I said, "You can hug me. It's available to you." I stand up. He stands up. We hug. And then he cries in my shoulder. Wow. I didn't say anything. I listened. I gave my ears rather than my mouth. I listened to what he had to say. And then to lead it back to what you're saying here about questions, the more you listen actively, realistically, not waiting to just have your turn to say something, the more you listen, the more that you'll be able to ask the better questions, to make a better connection. And the byproduct of it is you will actually have better things to say anyway. If you take your focus away from what I should say and just listen and ask the questions. Now,
That's a powerful point.
yeah.
I mean, that's spot on and powerful. And Cesar, thank you so much. Where can people, find you, to work with you, hire you to come and speak?
Yeah. So I speak in person, of course. I speak online as well. I give talks on growth mindfulness. I speak on and teach meditation. With this new certification now, I also speak and help people with learning how to use AI for their benefit instead of being scared of it. AI is not my opponent. AI is my assistant. And you can find all that stuff at my website, CesarCardona.com. I'm sure you'll put that in the show notes.
I'll put that in the show notes.
Go there. You'll see you can sign up to the newsletter, and there's a contact page. Every single individual who reaches out to me, I respond to personally. I talk to them. I want to listen to them. I want to know where you are. I want to help you find the best version of yourself, because there's nothing I'm giving you. I'm just helping you find you.
That's awesome. I'm going to ask you to do one other thing for me. How about your band? Got to get your music out there too.
Yeah, so it's been a little while since I've written some music there, but this music is Cesar and the Clue. Cesar is Cesar, and the word clue is Clew. Cesar and the Clue. Dude,
that's awesome. I'm so glad we had a chance to catch up and glad you're able to share with our audience here. I'm blown away and so proud of what you're doing and what you've accomplished in such a short period of time. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Tim. You are a beautiful man, and I admire you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, bud. Be sure to visit speakingwithconfidencepodcast.com to get your free ebook, Top 21 Challenges for Public Speakers and How to Overcome Them. You can also register for the Forming for Public Speaking course. Always remember, your voice has the power to change the world. We'll talk to you next time. Take care.